This is WFC.
Good evening and welcome to All for United WFC. This is Ben and Matt Saturday Night Live. Do apologise that once again, it is a pre-record, but as of Saturday night, I wasn't going to be around anyway because I was at Brighton. Well, I will be at Brighton and Hove Albion away for the men. So we're at a pre-record, unfortunately, but we are here. We're still chucking you out content. Matt, how are you, pal?
Yeah, not bad, mate. It's one of them. I feel like every other Saturday, we're like, sorry, it's a pre-record. Sorry, it's a pre-record. We're back live this week, but we're pre-recording next week. But no, listen, it is what it is. You know, at least, like I say, at least we're putting out content. Yeah, that's all I can say. Really, it's a final preview show of the season. It feels like it's, I don't know, for some reason this season feels like it's dragged. Like I was having this chat the other day, and I was like, I don't even recall. I recalled the Reading game. But then there's like a gap in between Reading and like everything else. And it just, I don't know. Just seems weird.
Does it get dragged? I think it's gone pretty quickly, mate. Yeah. Maybe because I watch both men's and women's, it seems to be sort of maybe it's go into one and it just weeks fly by. But
probably, yeah.
I don't know, mate.
It just feels like it's dragged. And then obviously we've got the Euros. So looking forward to that. But can't complain.
Absolutely. It's a big weekend, really. Obviously, the final weekend of the season. Obviously, we've got Chelsea away at Kingsmeadow, and obviously Reading are playing City, and we need Reading to do us a big favour and get all 3 points against City. I'll start off with that first and foremost, if I may. Have Reading got a hoping chance of beating City?
I mean, not when they've not won in the last 5 games, no. If they've lost 3 and drawn 2, they're on a woeful run of form, which has seen them slip from, I think, at one point they were 4th.
That's right.
Fighting us. Obviously, we were sat 3rd, and they've dropped all the way down to 8th. If you think that Aston Villa are only 4 points behind them, I mean, yes, Villa can't catch them, but 8th for Reading, being behind sort of the likes of West Ham's a pretty poor season for them. I don't know. Reading used to be one of them sides where you could rely on them. I mean, from our point of view, we've always struggled against Reading historically. It was one of them horrible teams, and that's what it used to be like. You know, it used to be having Reading taking points off sort of the top 3, top 4 teams, whether it was a draw or a win. And now it sort of feels like it's gone in reverse. And now we're looking at the Spurses and the Brightons that do that. So, it's a bit of a weird one, but I think, it's unfortunate that it's Reading they've got. I think if it was like Man City against Tottenham or Man City against, I don't know, maybe even Brighton, I'd be a little bit more like, I believe. And it's not to say I don't believe, because like you said just before we started this record off camera, stranger things have happened. But I just think you look at it now, we're going into the final game of the season. There's only really the title to play for. Potentially Champions League as well, but relegation's done as well, so there's not actually much riding on it for Reading. They ain't going to be bothered who gets in Europe because it ain't them. So they can't really affect too much in terms of like final standings and things like that. So I mean, listen, I hope I'm wrong. I hope to God I'm wrong, and I'd love to sit here and say Reading have got 3 points and they've finished 6th or whatever, or 7th, but it's a tough ask. City are on form, won the last 5 games. Got majority of their squad. I think they got all the squad back now, actually, from those injuries. I know Chloe Kelly's just recently taken to the pitch, scored past Birmingham the other day on Wednesday. They just don't look like that they're going to be dropping points at all.
Absolutely. But on the flip side, though, we've got to go to Chelsea, to Kingsmeadow, a team that we're still not beaten yet in any competition. How much is it a tough ask of ourselves to go there? Try and get the 3 points. The they've not really absolutely smashed us at Kingsmeadow as much as maybe people might think they have. They've always been obviously tough, sort of tough, quite tight games in a way. But do you expect them to? Do you expect us, shall we say, to go out there with shackles off and go without go into that game playing just play for just without the shackles, without having to worry about stuff and just going out and maybe just playing our game? Do you think?
I mean, there's two ways to look at this. The first way is obviously the pressure isn't on us. There's pressure on Chelsea. They're at home. They're going to win the league. The other way to look at it is that we do need to get a result on what are we going to be like mentality-wise. Like you say, do we go all out for it, or do we sit as we normally do, quite defensively structured, and try and nick a 1-0 win, knowing that Champions League rides on it? Now, I don't know. Well, nobody knows what targets the club set Mark this season. We are, like I said, second favourites for this game. And like you said, the games there have been close. The odd one goal has been in it, whether it's been a 2-1 or 1-0, things like that. I think the only time it wasn't too close was the Conti Cup. Was that 3-1? Did that finish or 4? Can't remember.
Yeah.
But that aside, in the league, like you say, we have been running them close. Obviously, Frank Kirby's a big miss for them. They've still got Sam Kerr and other quality players as well, so we need to be on our guard. I just feel like, I don't know, like I say, it's hard to predict because this was sort of something we spoke about the other. Sorry, that's just from me.
Colonel Foster trying to get into the action now for some reason.
We spoke about the other day with FC. Obviously, they had a must win. I mean, it's completely different because it was top versus third bottom. But we had a conversation about like the pressure being on the other team going for the league, and you kind of go there with no expectations, but the pressure off. And obviously, like I said, it could go either way. But I think for tomorrow, I just worry. Like the mentality, I don't think we cope too well with pressure when things are riding on games. We don't seem to sort of, get that mental block out of our head. Yeah, I don't know what your thoughts are on it, but I'm looking at it two ways. Like I say, the one way of the pressure on them, and the other way that we need to go there, but we can't cope.
I don't know, but I just think it's a free shot at this. If I'm totally honest with you, I think even if we lose, I think we'll finish comfortably fourth. Correct me if I'm wrong. I've not really looked at anyone behind us in the table, but even if we lose against Chelsea, I think we will be comfortably fourth anyway. So I just think that I don't think Mark will. I think, as you said, I think Mark will still sort of sit there, defensively minded and try and get a 1-0 or try and keep it compact and try and keep it the score down against Chelsea. But if it was me, I think it's a free shot. It's a free hit. Forget what's happened in the Reading City game. Forget all about that. Get it out there. Get it out of our heads. Let's just go to Kingsmeadow on Sunday. And let's just go for it. I think let's try and play football the way that we want to see United play football. Let's get down the wings. Let's attack them down the wings, and let's just play our football. Let's just not be too scared of them, and let's not give them too much. What's the word I'm looking for? Too much respect. Yeah, let's just go out there and get in their faces. This is the problem. Sometimes what the big teams, if you will, don't like. Teams that are riding quite high, teams that are prepared to get in their faces. Make it a bit of a fight. A bit of a scrap. I'm not saying let's go out and get yellow cards, red cards galore, or whatever. What I mean is get stuck into them. Let's show them that we're there. Show them that we're not going to give up third without a fight. Because at the minute we are still in the fight for third. You know what I mean? If Reading could do us a favour and then we could go to Kingsmeadow and get the 3 points ourselves, then we've done it, and we've got Champions League football. So it's not over yet. It's still not mathematically, certain that we're over, because it's still mathematically telling us that we're still in there. 2 points behind City, and if City go and Reading go do the impossible at City, and when you could argue we'd go and do the impossible against Chelsea, get the 3 points, but then then we have to go for it. I think, what I mean, we've got to go in with that mindset that Reading going to at least get something against City. Yes, of course, a draw wouldn't be good enough because they're a superior goal difference, even if we went and beat Chelsea. But even still, even if that was to happen, you lost out on goal difference. Well, is that that just even then, you know what I mean? That's at least it's shown that we've gone for it. We've gone for it in the last game of the season. I think we've got nothing to lose, mate. I mean, fourth is good as good as ours anyway, isn't it? So I think if I was Mark, I'd probably say to the players, not that I think you're right though. I think he is going to try and set up more defensively and try and keep Chelsea at bay as long as he can. And if we can nick a goal, great. But if it was me though, if I was thinking, listen, City and Reading, as I said before, let's get out of our heads. If Reading gets some against them, great, But we need to make sure that we can capitalise on a possibility that Reading can either nick a win or nick a draw. Yes, again, even if they nick a draw, we nick a win, goal difference, we lost that goal difference. But at least we can say, listen, we lost our goal difference and we went out, we gave everything. We gave, in the final game. I just think that for me would you know what I mean. But on the other hand, though, if we do go all out for it, we get absolutely smashed by Chelsea. You know what I mean? That's on the other hand, and everyone's going to come out and say, "Oh, he should have set up the way he usually sets up." But he has come on for a bit of criticism of late Matt Skinner again. That's another thing I was going to come to you about. There's been a lot of unrest on social media, especially after the Villa result. His substitutions, the people he's putting on, is he leaving it too late? What have you made of Matt Skinner the last 2 or 3 games? Has he gone too cautious, do you think?
The thing is, the Villa one, I don't think we were cautious against Villa. What let us down against Villa was poor finishing. Mm-hmm. And I'll come back to it on sort of talking about Chelsea game and stuff like that shortly. But yeah, I think sometimes we do approach things with caution. Like, for example, like we're saying now, tomorrow, will he go for it? The thing is, it's not in our hands tomorrow. So if it's not in our hands, that to me says, listen, let's take the gamble. Like you said, nobody's really expecting Reading to go there and get a result. Nobody's expecting us to go to Chelsea and get a win. However, you don't know if you don't try. And that's not that we're not trying, but I just feel like, and I've said this a lot this season, I don't feel like we have a plan B or a proper plan B. And I think that's what hinders us. You look at the top teams, you look at the Cities, the Chelseas, the Arsenals. If something ain't working and teams are sitting in a low block and we can't break them down, we change it. And look how many City put past Brighton the other week. It finished 7-2. We struggled and scraped to 1-0. And that's not due to necessarily always the manager. That can be players as well. The manager's not fully blameless, but I just think a mixture of sort of mentality and sometimes maybe the wrong approach. Like, this is a criticism I had under Casey. We always played the same way. We played the same players. It was very, very predictable. And it's sort of not that we're doing it with Mark as such. It can change up at times, but I still feel like it needs to maybe edge sometimes completely into a different plan B. We play a 4-2-3-1. Can we play a 4-1-3-2 or 4-3-3 or something? You look at it and you look at players used, and obviously people talked about Villa, and people have sort of been talking about Hansen and saying it's criminal how she's not got many minutes this season. You can't disagree. Like, you do look at it and you think, well, hang on. We're bringing on, I think, was it the other week when we brought on Fuso and Staniforth, and you're thinking, well, Fuso, great, that's an attacking thing. What's Staniforth going to offer that Hansen isn't? Nothing, in my view. And that's not...
For the Villa one way, it was Bro Reese and it was standing fourth. So he put 2 central midfield players on, basically. And I think that's where the sort of fallout came from. He didn't bring a Fuso on, he didn't bring a Hansen on, which would have been your attack minus substitutions. So he sort of brought Martha Thomas on off the right wing, if you will. She was playing out wide on the right there. He brought her off and then put a central midfield player on. So it just seems to be like everything seems to be a little bit, maybe not negative, but maybe he's a bit playing within himself again. It's like, what's he trying to do here? You're at 0-0.
Villa was the one. Yeah, Villa was the one where Russo went off, wasn't it? I'm getting mixed up here.
Yeah. Sorry, yeah, Russo, beg your pardon, went off, not Thomas. Yeah, you're right.
Russo and Gronin went off. That was it.
Yeah, that's right. And he brought on two central midfield players instead of a central midfield player. Maybe, gamble with Ivana Fuso or put Kirsty Anderson on, which is your more naturally sided right sort of wide right player. It just said to me it was a little bit like, I'm going to take 0-0 now, instead of gambling it all and trying to try and get that lick that 1-0, get a 1-0 win.
Yeah,
as you said though, it's not all down on market in the day. We have been criminal all season, not putting the ball in the back of the net. We've had glorious opportunities, and it just seems that when it comes down to the to essentially what football is about putting the ball in the back of the onion bag. Sometimes we're found wanting for that. So it's not always down on the manager as well. I think some of the players can look at themselves, and especially some of the players that have had glorious opportunities and not taken them throughout the whole of this season. They on another day that might have gone in, another day we might have got 3 points instead of getting, dropping 2 points. We might have turned a draw into a victory, or we might have turned a loss into a draw. So, it's all about, taking them opportunities. I think we'd be guilty, really, really guilty of not taking opportunities.
The thing is, though, again, for me, that comes down to mindset. Like everybody after losing points always looks at the manager. Nobody ever looks at the players. And I just, like you said, we could have put Fuso and Hansen on, and we put on, somebody like a bloody Lucy Staniforth. When you're chasing a game, Staniforth's not the one that you look to for goals. I don't look at the United bench and think, bloody hell, yeah, she's going to come on and bang a few goals. Do you know what I mean? It's not her game. Whether it's her or whether it's somebody else, like Bo Reeser, it's not her game either. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
they're both great players. Don't get me wrong, Matt. But I'm just thinking, you're chasing the game. Why are we not gambling with a more forward approach? Like an Ivana Fuso, that it's not well known. But let's be fair, in the league, I mean, she could pop up and create a little bit of havoc, if havoc's the right word, create a little bit of sort of unrest in the Villa back line. I'm thinking, we've not really seen much of this player. What can she really bring? Or then you bring Hansen on, which, yes, people know what Kirsty Hansen brings, but at least that she's going to go and attack the full-back. She's going to try and, get a shot in when she can. She's going to try and get the ball in the box. All this positive play. And I'm not saying that Staniforth can't do it, because Staniforth's got a good delivery on herself, but I'm just thinking, when he made both them subs, I turned around and I think I said to Mark, that's like him settling for the 0-0. I'm saying I've never known a United manager ever settle for something like that. Just try and get in the mindset you're a Manchester United manager, and we're still drawing the match at 0-0 with 10-15 to go. Let's just go out there and try and get the win. You know what I mean? To gain Champions League football, because we all knew that City still had a game in hand over us at that point, if my memory serves me correctly. We all knew that City were going to win that game in hand, and then going. Then obviously either catch us up or go ahead of us in terms of points to the table. So that 0-0 against Villa is really, really disappointing.
But I think this is why when I talk about a plan B, like if you look at our stats for this season, we kept 10 clean sheets, we've conceded 18 goals, which, Chelsea lead the way with 9 conceded, then Arsenal, then us. Yeah. So we've conceded the third least goals in the league, yet we're sat 4th. We've conceded less than Man City. Yeah. But the issue, again, is the conversion rate. And what I wanted to go back and say, linking in Chelsea, was if you look what they've got, not only a tight defensive unit, but they've got the attackers and they've got the multiple attacking talent. And if, for example, like that Villa game, they would change formation. Now, that is on the management and coaching staff, I agree, but it's also on the players, like you said, to convert them chances. And I just feel like if we don't get a Russo in front of a goal or a Tooney or a Galton, we panic, because we're like, who else are we looking at? And we've not yet built up to that level. And again, this is down to the board and recruitment and investment. Needs a bigger pool and needs backing, which is something for next year, and we can get onto later. But if you look at that and the difference, what separates the top 2 teams and then ourselves, not only is it mentality, but it's that conversion rate. You look at Birmingham against Chelsea last week, and Chelsea scraped to 1-0. Birmingham had a game plan. Now, yes, they sat in and they probably took a similar approach to what we're going to tomorrow. But I just feel like because there's no pressure on us and all the pressure's on Chelsea in front of their fans to get that result, because it's likely Arsenal are going to go to West Ham and take 3 points. We need to just play to what's in our hands. It's out of our control. even if we win and City win, we've still not got Champions League. So for me, let's take the shackles off. This could be a good building block for next season. You know, let's try something different. Let's try a plan B. Doesn't work and we get smashed, then you hold your hands up and say, right, you know, we got smashed. That's not going to work. This is what we need to do again. But I'd rather us try than sit there and still lose anyway, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, but I know what you mean. Though. That's the sort of flip side of the coin, I suppose, for football. You know, because whichever way he approaches it, Mark, I think
he's going to get stick.
Yeah, he's going to get stick anyway. He's going to get sort of like you know, people on social media having a go at him, and you know, because on the one hand, if he goes for it and we get smashed, you know, oh, he should have done this. Why has he gone like that? But on the other hand, if he's sitting there playing the way we have been playing, and we still lose the game, people are going to go, "Why didn't you go for it?" You know, I think the guy's in.
He can't win.
He's not in a win. You know, he's in a lose situation, isn't he? Really?
Well, look at last week when we beat West Ham 3-0, and everyone was buzzing. Oh yeah, we could have scored more. It was a great performance. You know, we kept the ball really well. We looked organised. You know, blah blah blah, and so on. You know, nobody moans, did they? And you know, obviously, made subs. Obviously, Tooney, Russo, Leo went off, Jackie. You know, and not one person moaned. You know, because we saw the likes of Fuso coming on and Brune and Hansen. You know, people weren't as bothered, but that's because we were winning. Whereas if you look at it from, like you say, sort of if we were getting beat or losing, people look to find fault, and because some people don't have the knowledge of sort of the tactical side and everything else, they slate the substitutions or they'll slate something small. Oh, why did such a player play wide without knowing the game plan or how the game pans out or is panning out?
Absolutely. Now, moving on back to the. Obviously, I think we've digressed a little bit. Well, back to the Chelsea game. As you said, at the top of the show, you said that they're missing Frank Kirby. How much of a bigger loss is that, though? Arguably, probably their best player. In truth, I know Sam Kerr's had a great season, and you know, and they are a team packed full of superstars, but. How much is that a loss to Chelsea, and possibly even a loss to the Lionesses? No doubt, you know, one of the best players in the league, sort of not being available, obviously due to personal reasons and what have you. You know what I mean? But how big a loss is that to Chelsea going into this match?
Yeah, it's massive. I think. Listen, obviously, Fran's had sort of problems in the past. She came back last season; she was on fire. There's a reason why she's, the player she is and wins the individual awards that she does. Massive loss to the Lionesses for the Euros. I mean, nobody knows whether she's going to make it. It's looking unlikely. So that there is a big sort of, a big gap to fill. But it's one of them where, players got to look after themselves and their health. So, in terms of that, then, there's no arguments. But I feel like even though she's missing and she's a huge miss, with Sam Kerr, Beth England, Pernilla Harder, Jessie Fleming, they've still got more than enough quality. Do you know what I mean? Like, if we had Russo missing, we panic and we think, shit, who've we got? I've just mentioned those names. They've also got Erin Cuthbert and Lauren James as well. So, there's always goals in the team. And this is what I'm saying. This is where the difference comes in. So, they can cope without Frank Kirby, and they know that. Whether they go out and get someone else in the summer attacking-wise, I don't think they need to, because if she does make it back, they've still got more than enough talent. So, that's the difference. And I think that's the difference in between sort of Chelsea and Arsenal. If you look at Arsenal again, Arsenal have not conceded many goals, 10 goals. They've actually scored more than Chelsea this season. But if you look at all the times where they've been wasteful in front of goal, which has led to sort of 4 draws this season, that's what's cost them, because they've actually, like I said, they've lost less than Chelsea. They've scored more, and they've pretty much, the goals against by 1 goal is pretty much the same. But it's them draws and that lack of clinicalness that's killed them. And again, do they maybe over-rely on Miedemar? Potentially. Beth Mead chips in with goals as well. It's one of them where, you can pick apart teams and analyse them, all the time. Obviously, Tobin Heath's disappeared, injured again. Blackstenius hasn't really hit the ground running. Caitlin Ford chips in with couple of goals. Paris has been hot and cold, so it's one of them, But I just feel like for Chelsea, missing Frank Kirby isn't as big as for them, like maybe from United's fans' point of view, they probably say that's a pretty big miss. But I think if I'm looking at it from a broad sort of perspective, I'd say they can cope. There's still enough quality there for them.
Absolutely. And what we made of Lauren James, well, we're sticking with Chelsea. What we made of Lauren James since they moved from United to Chelsea. Obviously, I know she's been injured when she did move. It seems to me that, obviously, I'm not a big follower of Chelsea, but it seems to me that it's taken a long, long time for her to get even any minutes in this Chelsea side. Do you think it was the right move for her in a way? Obviously, to be close to her brother, obviously, that plays for the Chelsea men's first team. And obviously a family all down south and that. But was it in hindsight so far? Do you believe the move has worked out for Lauren James? Was it the right move for her?
In terms of how I feel, I don't feel it was the right move for her because, like you said, she's been out injured, and then what you want after coming back from injury is a consistent run of games, and she's not had it, and she was never likely going to get it. Now, on the flip side, in her mind, I get why. She's closer to home. It was COVID at the time. She's still only very, very young. It's one of them, isn't it? I think, obviously a brother playing at Chelsea as well. I'm assuming the family are all Chelsea fans. But, sort of 18, 19, 20 years old, being here on your own, not being able to see anyone or do anything, I can imagine why that's difficult and why you would move. I can also understand that you've got ambitions of winning trophies and wanting to play Champions League. Now, yes, she's young, and yes, that could have come had she stayed at Man United, but it depends how, in your own mind, desperate you are for instant success. Now, a lot of people slated Greenwood when she went to Lyon and said, well, actually, she barely plays, she sits on the bench. But at the end of the day, if you're a player and you look back at your career, she can say, well, I won a quadruple with Lyon, I won a Champions League medal. Yes, she may have only played 10 minutes, but in her mind, she's probably not bothered. Same with Lauren James, me and you would be different. If I was part of a team and I got 2 minutes in a Champions League final, you think, well, I've not really contributed bugger all there, have I? Do you know what I mean? Yes, you get the medal, but, so it's down to the individual. Obviously, she's only young. You're going to make sort of rash decisions. Her dad, I'm sure, will be advising her, but I just feel like, sitting on the bench. I mean, she's made one league start, I think quite a few, 2-3 cup games, and she's completed something like four games for Chelsea. Like you said, injuries have been on and off as well, which doesn't help, but she was never fully right when she left us. So that's taken time. I do feel like maybe in the summer, and I don't think it'll happen, but I do think she should be looking for a loan for me. I would just get out pretty much until January, first part of the season. Get a run of games somewhere, wherever it is, whether it's, a West Ham, a Reading, a Brighton, somewhere so it's near her family if that's what she wants. Even a Spurs. You know what? If she went to Tottenham, she'd kill it there. Just to get that run of games and then challenge for a place in the Chelsea team. But I do think she's not been given an opportunity to get going, which is why it's been so stop-start.
Absolutely. It's just one of those things where you think, what if she did stay this season? And obviously, all right, fair enough, should have been injured at the start. But, maybe she would have been perhaps a little bit of a difference for us in terms of getting Champions League football. But it is what it is. She moved on, fair play to her. And is she one that you'd say may start against us, knowing that she has played against us? Do you think Emma Hayes will probably throw in against United and think, there's somebody that's played against United before, someone that may know where a chink in the armour is, And someone that probably had something to prove as well. And what better way to prove something than against your former club?
She came on against Birmingham last time out, last Sunday, but I just. No, she maybe come on, but she definitely won't start. I think if you look at the magnitude of the game and the pressure, you're going to throw in a player that's barely played and that is unfit in a game that's must win to get.
True.
Not. It doesn't matter who you are. I just it wouldn't be worth the gamble.
Absolutely right. No worries, pal. Just to finish off on the Chelsea's perspective of things, who's your player to watch out for? Yes, there's a team chock full of superstars. People probably have their own individual player that they like to look out for. But for you, who's the one dangerous person that we should really be paying close attention to? Try stuff out,
Do you know what? The easy route out of this is to say Sam Kerr for obvious reasons. But anybody that's watched Chelsea recently will see that Jesse Fleming has had one hell of a second half of the season. Plays in midfield. I was fortunate enough to see her when she was in sort of the American university system, scored a ridiculous amount of goals. She made a Canada debut, and I think she was like 17, something like that. If you look at her sort of national team stats, I mean, they're absolutely incredible. For somebody that's, just turned 24 years old, that's got, I think she's got 100 or close to 100 caps for Canada already. He's outrageous. But yeah, I think she's had a fantastic sort of second half of the season for Chelsea. It took her a while to sort of get going and up to speed. But I think if you watch what she does in that sort of free role in midfield, with Sophie Ingles sat behind her and sort of Penella Harder in that 5-player midfield have the sort of the freedom to not do what they want, but you know what I mean, pretty much close to. And I do think she will be one, especially because they play, like I said, they play a 3-5-2 with the wing backs. And I think that, I know we always talk about the midfield and it being key, but I just think we have 4 in ours and 2 holding. We almost pretty much, you back 4, does it become a back 6? Do the 2 holding drop, or do the 2 holding push into the 3? And we sort of go 4-5-1. So again, that's a decision where we need to make it, because they've got runners that need to be tracked. And, Jessie Fleming's one of them. I don't know if anybody saw sort of her goal. I think it was past Spurs. It was outrageous. Last minute as well, but yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Good shout there. Because as you said, everyone would probably, say Sam Kerr or someone along them lines. So it's good to get a different perspective, maybe someone that people may not pick or may not have heard of before. So that's a really good shout, that, Matt. On Manchester United then, obviously I'm going to bring this to the fans now, because we have a whole away end dedicated to us. We have sold all the tickets available as far as I can gather. The coaches all sold out, and then obviously people that live down south or people that make their own way. It's amazing that we've sold out an entire away end. How important is that for a United perspective going into this game, that the players can see an absolutely entire away end all full of Manchester United fans? And can that maybe play into our hands a little bit?
I think, first of all, and people may not like this, but I'm going to credit Chelsea, because Chelsea and Chelsea fans have similar ideas to ourselves in terms of growing the game.
Absolutely.
They travel in numbers, as do we. They're very vocal, as are we. They're all for away sections, as are we. And, they can give you the banter without it being, what's the word? Like too far, like and things like that. You never heard of sort of that. So, yeah, I've got quite although I wind them up on Twitter, I do have more time for Chelsea fans than sort of any other fan base in the WSL. And I just think that them giving us an away end is a good call. I remember when we went to Kingsmeadow in our first season of the WSL, and we went in the terrace, and there was all sorts of aggro because shit wasn't sorted out, and the fans.
We took over their so-called ultra end,
Yeah, allegedly. I mean, I didn't see no ultras in there at all.
No, I haven't seen the ultras at all.
But things like that do make a difference, just because, one, you're all together and it's good for atmosphere, and 2, like you say, it's visible for players, and yeah, it just highlights it rather than people being dotted around the ground. I just think it's better. You want to start an atmosphere. You want to all be together, don't you? And so credit to them on that. And I know, I follow a few Chelsea fans on Twitter and vice versa. And, they've always said they want away ends wherever they go, and they push for it. And they always try and give away ends to fans at there. But obviously fans, when they're travelling in large groups, there's no point in giving it like to Reading and West Ham and Brighton when there's about 20 of them travelling. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I know Leicester had an away end there. Arsenal have had an away end. We've had an away end. Tottenham have had away ends there. So, it's good that the club and their fans are open to that. And it just makes life easier, like I say, especially when you want to be with your mates. It's difficult enough trying to get seats when it's reserved. I think the unreserved model is the best bet, but it does make it difficult when certain grounds say, well, you have to sit here or you have to stand here. I mean, we stand anyway when there's seats, but, they allocate it, and then people get arsey, like Reading away when people got moved and they're like, oh, well, you can't sit there and blah, blah, blah. It just ruins it. You know what I mean? So, yeah, all for that. Credit to Chelsea on that, and hopefully it'll be a good atmosphere and a good game. Yeah,
credit. Like I said, I'll back your words to that. Credit to Chelsea for that. Credit that Chelsea allow Manchester United I was going for Manchester United to buy the away tickets. So we don't have to sign up to someone else's website and sign up to, their ticketing page and make a login, and then we get spammed with hundreds of thousands of emails every week from clubs we don't support. I think this is the way forward. So it should be like in a men's game. If I want an away ticket for Chelsea away, I don't go to Chelsea. I don't sign up to all ticketing website. I go for Manchester United and through a ballot, because obviously the men's game is always oversubscribed. But this is the way I think it should happen for the women's game.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter who we're playing. Even if it's a Reading. Yeah, Reading away is coming up. Man United said we've got this amount of this allocation from Reading. You've got an away end. Tickets are on sale now. They always use the wording limited amount of tickets, but I know there was a good fair chunk at Chelsea, to be fair. And then people could buy via the club instead of trying to go for the hassle of signing up for different ticketing websites and getting a spam through mail for clubs that you don't even like. So I think that's a model that we should all look to try and the next year or two try and get off the ground. I think whether that'll happen or not, I don't know. Back to the game itself, then, Matt. Well, we'll round it off over the next few minutes, and then we'll get on to the where we think we can strengthen for next season. But as in terms of the game, do you think Mark will make many changes for this one, or do you think he'll stick with the lineup that he's had against West Ham, which obviously we went and beat them quite comfortably last weekend?
Yeah, I think he'll probably stick. I think that it's difficult because I'm trying to work Hansen in just because of a pure strength as well as a pace.
Yeah.
But can you drop Martha Thomas when she scored and had a good game last week against West Ham? Probably not. I think the only change I would make is I don't want Hayley Ladd at the back. I think we've either got to put Diane in there.
Yeah.
Well, in fact, we're going to have to put Diane in there because Millie's not back.
No.
So I think for me, I'm not saying drop Ladd, but I'd probably put Ladd holding as she should be. Put Diane next to Thorisdottir and have Hayley either in place of Jackie or Zellum holding. I think apart from that, that's probably the only change. Like I said, it's difficult to fit Hansen in because obviously you've got Tuni, Galton, Russo up front. Maybe Hansen's somebody we look to bring on sort of half-time or the 50, 60-minute mark. Yeah. But yeah, in terms of lineup, that's what I wouldn't make wholesale changes.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't either, mate. I'd probably favour that, putting Ladd back into a preferred position of the defensive in defensive midfield and putting Diane in there. My only concern with that is the lack of speed at the back. I know Hayley herself's not the quickest player in the world, but at least she offers a little bit of speed there. Whereas I don't think Thorisdottir or Diane are particularly very quick. They are physical. And fair play. I have called Thorisdottir out quite a few occasions this season and past seasons. I don't mind her. I think she's a good squad player, but I don't think she's a first choice player or should be a first choice starter. Going forward. But she had a fantastic game against West Ham. She was brilliant against West Ham. Probably her best performance in the United shirt to date. Credit to her for that. But I do worry if we do bring Diane in and Thorisdottir together, have we got enough legs to cope with Chelsea's attack, to cope with players that may be looking to get in behind? Whereas I think, yes, again, like I said, Ladd's not the quickest in the world either, but she has got a little bit more pace to her game, and she plays the engine room in midfield. She has got a little bit more about her, I think, in terms of pace and in terms of recovery tackles and everything. I just worry that if we play Diane and Thorisdottir together, have we got that enough of the recovering pace if someone gets in behind the back, behind at the back there, but strength-wise, it's perfect. Height-wise, it's perfect as well. Whereas Hayley Ladd's probably lacking a little bit of height there. Diane and Thorisdottir, we have got the height in there. So, yeah, it'll be interesting now. I can see where you're coming from, and let's see if Mark then decides to go that way. The only thing I will say is I would like to see is out from the back, just quicken the pace up a little bit when we're passing out from the back. A lot of the times it's so slow, it's so predictable.
But I think that's because it's not going through Lad. Because, like I say, I think Diane, height-wise and physicality-wise, is a better option than Lad against Chelsea due to Sam Kerr and Pernilla Harder.
Yeah.
If they can give the ball to Hayley, you know Hayley's going to drill it and get it gone quick. If you give it to Zellen, under pressure, she's crap. She's going to lose it. You know, it's going to be a shambles. The other option's Jackie. But again, you know, I think you better, somebody that transitions the ball well in that team is Hayley Lad. Hence why when she's missing or not in her position, we struggle.
Yeah, good shout, mate. Good shout. But anyway, you know, I don't know. For this game, I want him, you know, as I said, for Forest Totier, she has to be a starter for me, you know. Yeah. She played very well at West Ham. I don't want to see her dropped or changed. But I'm so glad that she had the best game against West Ham in the United shirt to date. As I said, nothing against her, but I just don't think that going forward that she's a first choice player. She's a good squad player. She'll be my Henningberg. If we look at the 99 treble winnings United men's side, she'd be my Henningberg. Good solid backup to your Ronnie Johnson, to your Yapstam. Good solid backup there. She should be my Wes Brown, if you like. Good solid backup to Rio and Vidic there in the 08 side, even though Wes Brown did predominantly play right back that season and made it his own. But you know, in terms of that, you know, should be my solid sort of go-to player as when we need her. But fair play to us, West Ham. I have to say that. And just rounding it off, mate, a score prediction, pal. I know I'm going to put you on the spot here, but a little score prediction, if you will. 1-1. That'd be a decent result to take away from Kingsmeadow. Yes, it doesn't gain us Champions League football, but as I said, it is out of our hands, so to speak. You know, we're asking a lot of Brendan to do us a favour, but you know that I won't be too happy with a 1-1 there. United
say again.
Sorry, I was going to ask you for United if you score for United's goal.
Russo. What I was going to say was that I think, you know, if we did get Champions League, we'd need a hell of a recruitment in the summer.
Yeah,
I don't feel like the squad's close to competing for Champions League. If it happens, brilliant. If it doesn't, then we rebuild and we get a squad that is capable of fighting not only for Champions League but in the Champions League as well. And see where that takes us.
Absolutely. I'm going to go. I don't know. I'm going to go for a 1-0 United. I don't know why, but I'm just trying to be optimistic. You know, trying to just hang on to that last little thread of Champions League football if we can. You know, 1-0 United. I'm going to also go for Russo to score a goal. I think she's due one. She's due one, I think. You know, and what better way to get a goal than to try and grab us 3 points to hopefully put us in a position where we're in the mixer. You know, we're in the Champions League mixer, and then Reading going to do us a favour. It's a big ask, but as I say, football's a funny old game at times. You know, you just never know what will happen. But we need to make sure that we do our side of things and get the victory. Moving on then, pal, just to end things, you said it yourself about recruitment in the summer. And if we don't get Champions League football, I still think that it's got to be a big summer of recruitment. Mark Skinner's first real summer of recruitment. You know, we can argue all we like about the summer just gone. You know, how many of them players were his, and how many of them players were pre-thought of with Casey Stoney in mind. But this summer, mate, how many realistically do we need to bring in, do you think, off the top of your head?
At least 5, potentially 6.
Well, as many as that, do you reckon? Yeah.
I'd say so. I think if we break it down, I think 2 forwards, a wide player, 1, possibly 2 centre-halves, and either a second defensive mid or a centre mid for me.
Yeah. Well, I think it also depends who stays, who goes. You know, there's a lot of talk of Jackie. She'll stay, she goes. Obviously, there'll be a couple of more out of contract there, whether they stay or go, whether they're part of Skinner's plans.
I think for me, even if Jackie stays, I'd still like to see another centre mid, because I think if you look at Stanley, Jade Moore, Zellen, we need something different for that. For me, they're all quite defensive minded.
Yeah.
We need another Tooney type that's an attacking player that can mix it up and go on these runs. I I think that, like a
Do
10.
you not think that midfield maybe a little bit overstocked because you've got Bo Reese in there as well? You know, do you think it's a necessity to look at central midfield because of the numbers we've got in there, or do you think we definitely, as you said, we definitely need to find that sort of more attacking midfielder type player?
It's not a necessity over a striker. Like I say, I'd be happy if like another 10 came in, but I just feel like this year, like I said, and I've said it a lot, we've relied on Tooney and Russo, and I think Tooney's form has been up and down recently. She's not quite hit the heights of the start of the year, which is fair to say. And I think somebody coming in challenging her that's of a better quality than Fuso and anybody else that's potentially going to play there, Staniforth, whoever, you know, I just feel like that could be the missing piece. It's the attacking end that's the issue for us, hence the lack of goals and, you know, the creating the chances. Same for the forwards. You know, we relied heavily on Russo. Bruden came in and she's a fantastic player, but she's come in with God knows how many injuries she's had since she's joined, and she's been very stop-start. So that's not happened or worked out. And then wide players, just because we've ended up playing a forward wide. Tooney's been wide. Staniforth's been wide. Anyone but the wide players have pretty much been wide. And I think Leah Galton's probably not had her best season. So somebody that can play both sides would be ideal. And then obviously defence, we all know the issues we've had there, you know, with centre halves. And this is something I said last summer when everybody absolutely slated me, because I said Manning was a little bit of a gamble, having had 2 serious knee injuries. And now she's got a 3rd one in 3 seasons. So that was point proven there. You know, people need to start thinking and looking into people's medical history and the structure of the body. You know, if your tendons and ligaments are breaking down in your knee and it's happened twice, you're very susceptible. You know, we had a show on Tuesday with Dee Bradley of Durham, and she had back-to-back ACLs. And basically what she said was, you know, her knee is now that damaged, she cannot do anything to prevent it happening. All she can try and do is exercises to try her best to strengthen it. And people don't realize this. And that, and in the women's game, you're more susceptible to ACL injuries. I think people needed to realize that I wasn't criticizing the player as such. I was criticizing the gamble of that move. That's not to say he didn't want her, and we know she's a class player and she's been our best defender this year. However, we needed a second option, which we've now not got, and we've had to put Hayley Ladd in there. So that was my point made, that went down like a lead balloon, but it's funny that it's actually come around. It's been point proven. Yes, it's unfortunate that she's got injured, and it's been like that to prove the point, but you know, I don't just come out with these things for a reason. There is some facts and some substance behind it. So I think defence is a pressing issue, and forwards, and then we can look at sort of attacking midfielders and wing. I think if we could only sign 3, I would go defender, winger, and forward. But again, it's down to the board. You know, players are going to leave. We need to be reinvesting in that. We need to be signing players of better quality than those on the bench, so that when somebody does come in, whether they're a squad player for the bench or whether they're a starter, then we've got quality. You know, we've got Brune, and you look at if we'd have kept Siggy, for example, Brune is an upgrade on Siggy, who sat on the bench. It's got to be like that. You know, you look at Chelsea's and Arsenal's. I think when I last watched Arsenal against Villa, and they brought on Tobin Heath, Mana Iribuchi, and Leah Williamson, and you think, Jesus, like we can't even scratch the surface with that. We're bringing on lesser quality than what we're taking off. So if we can balance the squad a bit better, you know, like we did with the goalkeeping situation, Sophie Bagley has been absolutely class for Mary Earps, and Mary's had a tremendous season and probably gone under the radar, but that's because Bagley's come in, and Bagley's a quality keeper and a better number 2 than Fran Bentley or Emily Ramsey will be. So just shows, doesn't it? But it needs to be like that all over the pitch for me.
But as I said, it depends on who stays as well, because there'll be question marks over Owner, there's question marks over Jackie, whether those 2 will stay. I know Barcelona are sniffing around Owner again, you know. It all depends, I suppose. Some, you know, we can keep going around in circles, you know, keep asking the questions. Will they stay? Will they go? If they go, who can we bring in? Yeah, I suppose we have to wait and see, you know, what pans out over the summer. But I'm hoping there is a budget there for Mark, a realistic budget as well. Obviously, we're not going to have the top end budgets of Chelsea and Arsenal yet, I don't think. No. Especially when there's a mass rebuild to do it on the men's side as well. People always say, why do I always say that? Well, because you know where the majority of the money is going to go from the Glazers, is going to go to the men's side. Unfortunately, it shouldn't be that way. You know, Skinner should have a massive chunk himself to spend, but we know that with its ownership, and they're obviously going to favour the men's side. There's obviously Carrington's being obviously redeveloped as we speak. I've seen it the other day when I was watching the under-18s play. There's tractors on the other far in the field digging up. I think extending it bigger. So I'm assuming that'll be for the women. So the women have got a decent chunk of a plot of land there to go and do their training on, so they're not clashing with the men's and the academy sides that all train there and what have you. So money is being spent, it is going to be spent over the summer. Obviously, we'll have to wait and see. I'm just hoping they're back. I'm hoping that they're giving what he wants. Any players that would do sell, like a Jackie, like an owner, I think it's Jackie out of contract this summer.
I believe so, because I think the only ones with year options were Russo and owner. Where we've got the option to extend that by 1 year. I think Jackie, potentially Zellum, Smith, Martha. There might be a couple of others. I think they're your ones out of contract.
But as I said, any money that we get for any of these players, if we are selling any players that are under contract, or we can, for owners, maybe put a year contract on so we get some money for that. I don't know how it works. I'm not a business guy, but any money that we do get for any players that we do sell, I hope that's reinvested within the squad as well, and not just money pocketed to the Glazers' back pockets. Hopefully that he's allowed to reinvest in the squad for anything that obviously any wages that he saves on as well, because we know that Jackie will be on quite a high wage. I'm not sure what owner will be on, but I'm assuming she'll be one of the better paid players as well. So if those two were to go, or one of them were to go, hopefully we reinvest all that money that especially wages that we'd be saving, hopefully reinvest that towards a new player. I'm just hoping that it'll be a good transfer window. We back Matt to the hill. We listen to what he wants and give him his first choice, not his second, third, or fourth choices. So long as they obviously the players have wanted to come to Manchester United for the right reasons, let's make sure we go get his first choice of players, and then just literally back the guy. Let's give him a good first I still think this is his first transfer window, really.
Yeah.
I don't know about you. I think a lot of that was all mostly Casey Stoney previous summer. So hopefully for the first major proper summer transfer window, we back him, we give him his first choice targets in. So obviously, depending on the players, if they want to come, obviously they want to come, then great. And then before we start looking at our second or third choices, let's make sure we back the guy, give him the money to spend, and let's get Champions League football for next season. For the season after, let's go into next season challenging for Champions League football. Try and challenge the top 2 or 3 in there as well. Get right into the mixer. Let's get better strength and depth, as you said. I said our bench. If you look at it, compared to City's, Arsenal's, and Chelsea's, you look at it and they go, they've got massive strength in depth. Look at ours, and we're looking at there's still some hangers on here from Casey Stoney's time that possibly need to be moved on. No disrespect to them. Thank you for the time and for your for the great service you've given Manchester United, but there's got to be somewhere in the line there we start bringing our team up to the levels of City, Chelsea, and Arsenal in terms of strength and depth. So, hopefully we can have a good summer in the transfer window.
Yeah, I think it's one of them where it's difficult, again, recruitment-wise, because if you're not in Europe, it's hard to attract players to come out of Champions League football from the top clubs. But like I said, this is where we need to be going for players that are within our reach. Let's go all out for May Letitia at Brighton, people like that. Let's get what we can and not let money become an object and back the manager. And I think that's one reason where in the past we've missed out on players, because we've faffed about. And I think we need to get the recruitment done early. I think he talked about the other day about getting experienced players in. We need that, obviously, ones with like a mindset that have pushed for titles in Champions League, and just see where it takes us, really.
Yeah, just quite quick before I finish, Matt. Anybody that you sort of maybe look at? I know you've just thrown Letitia's name out there, but any others that you sort of fancy within our league or maybe abroad from Europe that you might have think they could possibly do a job at United?
Yeah, it's difficult because all the names I'm going to chuck out are the likes of PSG and Bayern Munich and things like that. It becomes difficult, Sandy Baltimore was somebody that I've mentioned, as sort of a player that could be potential. I know there's numerous issues at PSG, with all sorts of political things going on. There's been rumours of their owners pulling out the money. So I think if it was me, I'd be looking to tap into her. Lyon have always got an absolute hatful of players that, don't get games. The likes of Melvin Mallard, who's young French forward that I got to see at the Under-19 World Cup. People like that. But again, it's the money, the wages, the Champions League. It's too many factors. So it's hard to throw out these quality names. Maya was the one that seemed like the obvious because, just because she's at a club that's not as good as ours. Again, it's prizing her away from there, but I'm sure there'll be people, I've championed Beth England for a while, still not getting games for Chelsea.
Beth England is someone.
So again, it's one where Emma Hayes won't sell to a rival. She's still got a contract. So it's hard, isn't it? I could chuck out a good 10, 15 on a transfer list, but the likelihood of most of them at the minute is pretty difficult.
I'd love to see that Letitia, That's one big fan. I am a big fan of Letitia, She would she'd be perfect to see growth for the ranks. I run really quickly. Do you think that we should also be looking to promote some of the youth as well? They're the 1-2 trophies this season, and there's a lot of them sort of on the cusp, like your Maria Edwards, maybe Poppy Lawson's, Carla Solskjaer be thereabouts as well. Do you think that he should be looking in terms of a summer transfer window, but also should be looking to keep these players in mind as well as players that he may want to bring in?
100%, yeah. But again, like I said, this season, these players, they need game time elsewhere. It's all well and good killing it in the reserves. And how many times have we talked about the gap between the reserves and the first team? Maria got one loan. Maria should have had a loan this year. She's been that good for the devs. The stats are ridiculous. So I think for me, you don't want to pull a winning culture and a good dev side apart, but if they're good enough to make the step up, they need that game time. So I think the likes of Maria, Kana Solskjaer, Poppy Lawson, I'd be sending out on loan. Maybe even Chloe Williams, depending on who comes up out of Wolves and Southampton, you've got two good clubs there for developing players that will happily take probably our dev teams. You've got your likes of Blackburn that's locally where you can still keep an eye on them. Again, very good at working with young players. There's options there. I think that's the main thing for me. I think have them train with the first. Tara Bourne's coming back again.
Yeah,
great. She's played at Sheffield first half. She's played at Blackburn. Would I put her back in the devs? No. Would I have her training with the first team? Yes. Then I'd potentially say, right, you're going to do summer to January out on loan and reassess it. The others that I mentioned earlier, I give a full season, but I think Tara now she's done her year like Maria did.
Yeah.
Give it another 6 months and then say, right, look, this is what we can do. Would love for them to be involved. However, I think the development has to take place properly first before we see them thrown in. Like I say, training's fine, preseason friendly's fine. Any Conti Cups against lower teams, not an issue. But I think, you don't want to throw them in too soon. There's a process. And they've had a fantastic season, and it's a credit to Charlotte and the staff. We've got to take them on pre-season, and let's see what we can do there first and work something.
Absolutely. Before we end, mate, the schedule and all that lot, the usual business before we end.
Yeah, it's getting thinner on the ground now, isn't it? Obviously, game day tomorrow, Sunday. Weekly catch-ups will be out as well. Probably do that in the evening, actually, because it's a 12 o'clock kickoff. Bloody league have picked a stupid time for the last game. So I think weekly catch-ups in the evening. Schedule in the evening as well. Monday will be match reaction. Tuesday, as myself and Connor were talking about, there's a cup final going on, County Cup final. We're talking about that with a West Brom player on, Kerry Walcott, who's been on the show before. Yeah, and then we've got whole host John's Thursday show Friday, and back to us again. We'll review it. Obviously, it's one where it's end of the season and we'll sit down, and it's no good me throwing out the usual schedule if things change. So all I'll say is keep an eye on Twitter, but that's the plans anyway, and we'll see where that takes us. And obviously, thank you to everyone that's tuned in this season for the Saturday Night Lives. We've had an absolute ball. We've had, a couple of player guests and things like that. We've had fans on. You name it. It's been really good. So hopefully, like I say, you'll still see us throughout the summer. Maybe not weekly, but we've got a whole host of shows lined up and guests and things like that. So yeah, big thank you from me and you.
Yeah, absolutely. And if time allows, I'll echo those words, mate. Thank you for everybody for tuning in. I know I've not been around so much over the last month or two. I've had lots going on. But I'm looking to be back now full time, hopefully. Looking to be on more shows as well as this one to get stuck back into it all. And as you echo those words, throughout the summer we'll still be here, whether it'll be a weekly or a fortnightly show, because there's no proper Real United content. It may go to a fortnightly one where we just round up what's happening in the women's game, and as it approaches the Euros, we may even bring the show back to a weekly one and catch up with what's been happening with United players going on in the Euros and everything, how England are doing, etc., etc. We shall obviously, me and Matt will discuss that as the summer goes along. But thank you very much for sticking with us. Thank you very much for all your support. And we'll go again for next year. We'll make sure we'll come back bigger and better. We'll try and get more guests on as well, as in terms of players, in terms of coaches, in terms of journalists, or whatever you people like to see. Get in the comments, chuck us who you'd like to see on. We'll try and make that happen as best we can. And thank you for sticking with us. And Matt, if there's anything else, mate, I shall end it there, pal.
No, that's all good for me. Like I say, just thank you, and we'll see you all very, very soon.
Yeah, we shall. See you. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you soon.